On this episode of Strength Coach Tutorials, we're going to use VBA Code to create a macro to automatically insert headshots into your spreadsheet. What this macro is going to do is read a URL that contains an image, and then when clicked, it will automatically insert those images into your spreadsheet. This is going to be really useful if you have to import mass amounts of pictures into your spreadsheet and need a simple, easy way to do so. So let's get after it. Okay, so we're back and I've already gone ahead and set up our spreadsheet just a little bit. So what it looks like here is I've just added a box at the top that just contains our athlete headshot. And then down the left-hand side here, important to note that these values are sitting in cell B2. We have basically just the URLs from the different headshots on NFL.com. And an easy way to do that is just if I was to actually go to NFL.com right here, I have a picture of Drew Brees. If I just right click on the photo of Drew Brees and go to copy image address, and then I go back to my Excel, I could easily just paste this in here and it will automatically be the URL of the photo. Okay, so I'm just going to add this at the bottom just so you can see that the code we're going to write actually works. And I'm just going to wrap this text and kind of just make it look the same as the other ones, and I'll add those boxes in. So what we want to be able to do is take this URL and then paste the corresponding photo in this cell here. And the way that we're going to write the code is that it reads the URL and then pastes the value here. Important to note also is that the first cell that we will be starting in is going to be C4. Okay, and I'll show you why that's important in a second. So we have B2 and C4. Okay, so now in order to write a VBA macro, as it's called, we need to go to the developer tab. And to get to the developer tab, it should be just along the top of your toolbar. If it is not, you may need to go to File, Options, and open up this menu. And if we go down to, where is it? Customize ribbon, there is actually an option to turn on the developer tab. So if you don't have it in your version, you will just need to turn it on. So let's go into our macros. So developer tab right at the top there. And then we're going to go over to Visual Basic, and you're going to see a sheet that looks kind of like this. And you're going to have a spot on the left-hand side that has your project, and then a spot on the right-hand side where we're actually going to write our code. Now, inside of the VBA code here, you'll see all of your sheets listed here. In this case, we have sheet 1, which is my intro tab, and then sheet 2, which is my video tab. And if we double click on these, it will open up one of these, and we can go ahead and do our code right on there. But if we want the code to be accessible across the whole workbook, we may want to put in what's called a module. And a module is basically like a blank notepad that goes in your code where you can put codes in and they will be accessible on the whole workbook. Now, I already have the code in here, but we're going to recreate it for the purposes of this video. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to right click and go to Insert, and I'm going to insert a new module, and it's going to be called Module 2. Now, to start a code in VBA, what we need to write is sub and the name of our code. And we're going to call our code insert image video. And that's going to tell me that we're going to be creating a code to insert the image in the video. And when I hit enter, what you're going to notice is a couple things. It's going to automatically add some brackets here and then give me the end sub. And what the end sub does is it's going to automatically end the code. So anything between the sub and the end sub is going to be run when I actually run the code. Okay. So in order to write this code, I have a copy of it here, and I'm just going to write it along and sort of explain as we go along. The first thing that we need to do when we are writing a VBA code is define our variables or give our variables dimensions. So the way that you do that is you write dim, and we're going to do a couple different variables. We're going to do a picture, pic, as string, and a string is going to be a collection of a lot of data basically as text. And then we want dim my picture as picture. So that is going to be what we actually insert. And as you'll notice, it may be hard to see, but these are actually coloring blue as they, when we have the as and the string, they're coloring blue. So it just tells us that we're typing the right thing. And then we want dim range. I'm going to do RNG as a range. And then dim item as a range. Okay, so those are going to be the 4 variables that we use. Now we're going to actually program out our code. So the first thing we're going to do is set our range. So we're going to type in set range RNG, and we want that to be equal to range. And then in quotations, this is going to be where we want our pictures to go. So in our case, we want to go from C4. Remember, I wrote down that we're starting in C4. And, oh, where did my coding go? Right there. We want to go from C4. I'm just going to maximize this window again. C4, and then all the way to, let's just say C100, and that'll give us enough space to kind of update this as much as we want. And then now for each item, we want to actually go through this whole range and do the task. So we want to go through C4, C5, C6, and we want to do the task of inserting the picture. So we're going to write a for loop. So what we're going to type is for each item. Remember, we defined item as a range, in range. So what we're saying is for each item in range, what we want to do is set our variables. So picture is going to be equal to item offset 0 minus 1. So what this is doing is we're going to set our picture is going to be equal to item offset 0 minus 1. So this would be the rows, and then this is the columns. So if our item in range is going to be equal to C4, then we want to keep the same row, but we want to subtract 1 column. So we want to get the value in B4. So we're setting our picture to that value. In this case, we're looking in B4. I just realized that this should be B4. That's my mistake. Okay, so for each item in range, we want to set our picture to item.offset 0 minus 1. So that actually turns it into B4. Moving on. We need to set now a variable that looks for if there's nothing in that cell. So if pick equals nothing, remember we've used nothing in a lot of our formulas. So nothing is 2 double quotations, then exit sub. Okay, so what this is saying is if the picture is equal to nothing, remember it's looking in the B column. So when it gets to the end, then we want to exit sub. Okay, and what that means is we just end the sub right there. Okay, now we're going to set my picture to equal active sheet dot pictures dot insert in pick. Okay, so what this is saying is set my picture to equal active sheet dot pictures, so all the pictures on active sheet, and then insert the value of pick. So that is where it's actually looking now at the URL that we've put in there. And now we define what we want our actual pictures to look like. So with my picture, what we want to do is actually put it right in the cell. So there's a couple things we're going to type in here. Shape range dot lock aspect ratio is equal to MSO false. Okay, so that is just going to ensure that all the formatting stays kind of the way that we want. Now we're going to set our widths and our heights. Okay, so width, we want that to be equal to item dot width. Okay, so item is going to be the cell, in this case C4, and we want it to be equal to the width of that cell. So we type dot width equals item dot width, dot height equals item dot height dot top. Where do we want the top to be? Equals rows item dot row dot top. So what this is saying is we want it to be equal to the row of item, and that'll be the top row. So that is the top of where the value is going to be. So in this case, the top of C4. And then we want the left dot left equals columns item dot column dot left. And then the last thing that we want to do is actually set our placement. So I want the pictures to actually go in the cell and then size and reshape with the cell. So we're going to type dot placement equals XL move and size. And then we can just end our with statement. And we want it to go to the next line. So we would type in next. Whoops, let's get this up a bit. Okay, so that is our code, and let's run that and see what happens. So remember, it is insert image video. So I'm going to minimize this for a second, and to run a code, I'm just going to go to macros on my developer tab and run insert image video. So I'll double click there, and there we have it. It seems to work. And as you can see, that new URL that we've put actually inserts in there because we are looking from C4 basically all the way down to C100. So any picture we put in this column all the way down to 100 would work. So that's our code. We'll take one last look at it just so you can kind of screenshot it or whatever you want to do. We'll walk through it one more time. So we've outlined all of our variables, set our range for the range that we want the pictures to go into. And then for each item in range, we wanted to set where our picture is, and it's minus one column. And then if it equals nothing, then we exit the whole thing. And then we set our picture to insert. And then when it inserts, we've just given it the properties that we want it to insert with. Then we end that whole loop and then go to the next sort of item in range. And then we end the whole formula. So we'll close that off. Now, if you remember from the video, what I actually had was a button that we can press. So I'll show you how to create that right now. So what I'm going to do is go to insert, and we'll use a shape. And I'm just going to use a normal kind of rectangle, and we'll just give this a color. Let's give it sort of a red color. We'll outline it in black. And then I'm going to type right into it, insert headshots. And we'll make that text black, and then we'll go to the home tab, and I'm just going to make it Arial black font, put it in the middle, and then make it a lot bigger just so that we can see. So it's easy. That's an easy way to just create buttons in your spreadsheets. I'm going to delete these now. So I'm just holding down Control and selecting them. I'm just going to delete them out of there. But what we want to do is now take this so that when I click on it, it runs that macro. So what I can do here is right click here, go to assign macro, and then I can use that insert image video. And when I click this, it's going to actually run that macro for me. Okay. So that's an easy way that you can just insert loads of pictures into your spreadsheet fast and easily. Like I said, this will be really useful. Maybe you have your school website or your team website, and you just put all of the URLs in this column here, and then just insert all the photos at one time. And then I have previous videos that show you how to use inserted photos to pull them into dashboards and testing profiles and kind of whatever you want. But the most tedious part is actually getting the images into Excel. So with that quick function, one click of the button and all your headshots are right into Excel where you need them. So I hope this trick helps you out. If it does, please smash that like button, hit the bell notification and all that good stuff that YouTube tells us that we should say. In the next video, what we'll do is work on a little button that'll actually delete all the photos back out of there. So we'll kind of go through that in the next video, and I'll just go back to my intro video, and kind of what that looks like is I have the delete button here, and as I click that, it'll just take the photos back out. So in the meantime, if you want to support the channel, please like and subscribe, and then you can comment down below anything else that you or any questions that you might have. So I will see you in the next video. Thank you.